Joining me this week is a CNN contributor, the managing director of SKD Knickerbocker media relations firm, and an optimist, according to her Twitter bio. Hilary Rosen, welcome to the Rubin Report.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm good. So you're an optimist. I know if it's said on Twitter, then it has to be true. It's tough being an optimist these days, isn't it?
You know, I've lived in Washington so much longer than I can really even admit, but it's like over 35 years. And this town will suck the life out of you, like literally, like bodily suck it out of you. And so, I've lived through the Reagan years here. I lived through the Bush years, then the second Bush years. And yet there's something about it that keeps me believing that the next person is going to make it better. And, honestly, living through Barack Obama has had its moments. So I'm an optimist.
You're an optimist. Is this a prescription drug related thing, possibly?
I'm drug free. Drug free.
Drug free. All right, very good.
Well, mostly drug free.
Fair enough. And whatever it is, I'm okay with it.
No tests. Give me no tests.
All right. So you are a Hillary supporter. Your name is Hillary. You've got one L. She's got two. You are a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Required to be one.
My audience is all over the place, which I'm very proud of. So I know you're going to get a certain amount of hate. So I'm just giving you, that's a trigger warning for you, or
bring it on,
or something like that. So before we get into Hillary, though, because that'll be the easy part for you, why do you not like Donald J. Trump?
It's funny because I had this moment today. So have you paid attention to the Facebook Live thing that they're doing?
Well, I saw a little bit of it last night.
You're Mr. Tech, right?
Yeah.
So I literally went to post that I thought that the Trump campaign's Facebook Live daily show was a brilliant idea. And I kind of went back and forth. Oh, should I not compliment him? Is that a bad thing to do? Like, will people think then that I think that Hillary should do a Facebook Live? And I just thought, oh my God, you're so fucking overthinking this. I like Kellyanne Conway as a person. I'm sure I'm going to get hate mail from our Democratic friends on that. So I thought it was a good idea. As a person, I find him an unbearable narcissist. I always have found him to be boorish. It's not a coincidence that the only congressional district in New York State that Donald Trump lost in the primary is the one that he lives in. Not a coincidence. Like, the people who know him best like him the least. So I'd like to.
That is a fact. You're not making it up. I will grant you that fact.
It's a fact, right? He lost that congressional district. He lost his neighborhood.
Yeah.
His neighbors didn't vote for him. So, I could come up with one or two nice things about him. I do think that how much his kids love him is a good thing. So I agree with Hillary on that. I do think that anyone who can make a business out of just using his name, which is really what his business has been the last several years, just using his name, has to have some sechel, as my grandmother would say. But I don't think it's particularly helpful for anyone else because, the average steel worker laid off in Ohio is not going to be able to create a business out of his name. So I'm puzzled by the affection for Trump's business skills, but I just find him to be kind of a terrible person.
Yeah, so let's back up and start with what you first said, which is interesting about the Facebook Live post. And you were going to post, because I suspect what you were saying is that you were going to post something not necessarily praising Trump, but saying that this idea is kind interesting.
Of praising, right.
Right.
And it's like we're not allowed to do that anymore in this sort of hyperpartisan world. So, I did it anyway because I don't really live by hyperpartisan rules, but I did go through this kind of process over whether it's okay or not to have that kind of civil analytical conversation.
So as someone on the left, as a liberal or a progressive, do you consider yourself a progressive or a liberal? Does it even matter to you?
Yes.
One of those, both of those.
All of those. I consider myself I'm a capitalist tool with a progressive activist heart.
That's nice. So as that, does that dishearten you that you know when you post something on your own Facebook page that obviously these are your fans or your friends, these are people who know Hilary Rosen, they know your politics, that even by posting, Trump, this TV idea is kind of interesting, or he's using Facebook in an appropriate way, that even that's going to bring hate from the left, which is supposed to be the tolerant side. That must drive you crazy.
Like, there's so many things about this election that drive me crazy. Civility has become a partisan issue on kind of both sides, right? To say something, like, all of a sudden, if you say, um, I like Kellyanne Conway, she's a good person, all of a sudden it's like, what are you talking about? She's an evil person. Or if you say, actually, you shouldn't want to ban all Muslims, that's, not a good thing to say. You're so partisan, you're so against Donald Trump. So, like, these kind of basic niceties that you were kind of brought up to imagine would be the right way to live every day, all of a sudden it's caught up in this sort of partisan whirlwind. It's a little frustrating.
I'm very proud that I'm called a libtard and a member of the alt-right every day. Like, I think that says something,
A libtard. Where did that word even come from?
Like, that's the best they could come up with, libtard. Now I get libtard, I'm a cuck-servative, I'm a member of the alt-right, I'm a white nationalist. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you are all of those things, and I'm ashamed of you for it.
I should have told you before you agreed to do this show.
Very ashamed.
All right, so let's talk about Hillary, though, because I've found that for me, at least in the online space that I live in, it's been easier for me to find people. It's the online space that you're in right now. I know you do the mainstream thing, but you're in the online world right now.
I'm just imagining you like living in your little box.
It's just a teeny tiny dial-up thing.
Tiny box in the Hollywood Hills.
Not in the hills, I assure you. But I am able to find more passionate Trump supporters that I've had better exchanges with than Hillary people. The Hillary people have either been like connected to the campaign somehow, or I sense that a lot of Hillary people are voting for her begrudgingly. So as someone that's not voting for her begrudgingly, can you sell me on Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, I hear people say that Hillary voters are unenthusiastic, but I meet a lot of enthusiastic Hillary voters. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is coming from. I think you can look at people and sort of categorize them by ages. And I just had a couple of women in my office earlier today. One of them was a millennial, and she didn't know the Clintons of the 70s and 80s, the sort of progressive middle class Clintons, right? Before they became a member of the elite class like the rest of us have now. But what she really keyed in on, she's like, oh my God, Hillary Clinton talking about sexual harassment and making this be an important issue in this campaign has totally excited my friends and I, because this has been a real issue for us. It was an issue for us a few years ago in college. It's still an issue for us. And nobody else has ever talked about it in public life. Like, that's a really big thing. And so she's enthusiastic, and for a whole other set of reasons that Hillary's giving voice to for young women. And yet, for someone like me who has worked with her and known her for a long time, I remember when she made sure that after that disheartening defeat on healthcare, she came back and didn't give up and passed the children's health insurance law that has helped a lot of kids to this day. So, like, I know that kind of pragmatic, thoughtful, engaging, really wonky side of her that is rooted in policy. I love that side of her. I also happen to know kind of the girl side of her, that the one who at lunch remembers, who you're dating and your family and the last time she talked to you. And I just saw her recently actually at an event, and the first thing she said to me was, oh my, I've been thinking about you because, our friend's husband has cancer. And are you, I wish I could do more. Are you, taking care of her? That's Hillary. That's who she is. So
do you think it's partly that because of the over-the-top caricature that Trump basically is, that people are just sort of, whether you hate it or you love it, there's a certain attraction to that. It's clickable, it's easy to understand what it is, where the word you use, pragmatic with Hillary, it just sort of seems boring or whatever, maybe perfectly great and maybe what you want out of a leader, but that it maybe just isn't flying for the 2016 Twitter age.
Well, I think the short answer is yes, but I think one thing we have to be proud of with Hillary in this campaign is I think she has gone at Trump with a little more intensity and maybe a little more relish than people thought she would, personally. That was a conscious decision on her part because she has felt like when other people have gone after him earlier in the campaign season, they didn't get as much attention for it. And basically, she had the bully pulpit and she needed to use it. Having said that, the thing that she has stayed pretty consistent on, I think, is that she started out this campaign with a lot of wonky policy papers, with a lot of positions, with deep, not 2 or 3 point plans, but 10-point plans on virtually every subject, and has stayed there doing roundtable events on all sorts of subjects, has, consistently, we just saw it in the last debate when someone was talking about Obamacare. It didn't get much attention, but Hillary actually recited the top 5, benefits of Obamacare and why it mattered and what we would lose if we actually repealed it. Whereas Trump was just like, "Oh, I got to get rid of it. It's a disaster. It's a disaster." He didn't even really know the actual policies that it mattered in the legislation. So I think she has consistently been that person. This is a really long run-on answer, but to wrap that up, it's just she started this campaign with goals of what she wanted to do as president. I think she's ending up this campaign, outlining those same goals.
Yeah, so the Obamacare one is an interesting play because I have no doubt that she knows her stuff inside and out. I've said it on the show many times. But
Yeah.
as an example with Obamacare, we just heard in the last couple of days that there are these double-digit rate hikes and things like that. So it's weird because on one hand she has to defend the parts of Obamacare that obviously are working, and then at the same time people see the headline. They look back and they hear Obama saying, "If you like your pan, you can keep it." We know that wasn't exactly true. They said certain hikes weren't going to be true. Then people see the headline, which I'm sure, I haven't seen Drudge today, but I'm sure it's the lead thing, double-digit increases. So she's sort of caught by being part of the system where she has to defend something and attack it at the same time, where Trump doesn't have to, he's outside, so he can kind of say whatever he wants, right?
Well, you say she's caught, but I'm not sure that's the construct. I think she is articulating for people the benefit, no question. And if you're one of those 20 million people who now have health insurance, you really don't want your presidential candidate out there saying, "We got to get rid of this thing." So I don't think she feels caught.
Well, what about for the people that are upset about the increases?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you have to be honest and recognize that there are multiple audiences here that feel differently about this law. I'm a small business owner. Our healthcare costs have gone up a lot in the last couple of years, but before Obamacare passed, our healthcare costs were skyrocketing. So this law didn't solve all the problems in healthcare, and because there was a very strategic decision to keep our healthcare system in the private sector, to keep it relatively competitive among companies, that you're not gonna be able to dictate what all of the price increases are, what all the plans are, and how the outcomes are.